Very excited to have a good friend of mine on. We've had dinner before. We have common friends. We were just having a fun conversation about that. And finally got him on the big show. Very excited about that. He's a hypnotist. He's one of the best in the biz. I love his Instagram. Please welcome to the show, Dom the Hypnotist. How are you, buddy?
Man, fantastic. Excited to be here. And, it's been a long time coming. I know we did the, what was it? The Zero podcast.
Yeah.
We talked about some stuff there. Yeah, I'm excited. And today I wanted to share some things with your audience about hypnosis, self-hypnosis, and give them some takeaways on some things they can do in their own life to improve different areas. We were just talking before we went live on your struggle with addiction. And so I'll give some really cool stuff that has to do with hypnosis, meditation, some chakra stuff that they can start doing right away. And then you and I had talked about going into some of the stuff about the gentleman that I worked with who told me some stories about Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, we'll get into all that. I'm super excited to talk to you. Real quick, for those who may not be familiar with your appearance on Zero, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where our listeners can find you?
Yeah, so my birth name is Dominique Bertoncini. So I go by Dom the Hypnotist because people find it very hard to call.
That, right?
Yeah. And so, I've been doing hypnosis for about 6 years, got into it randomly. My mom bought me a hypnosis course one day. I went to it, had no desire to do this. And when I went to it, I sounds maybe corny, but I found what God put me on this earth to do, which is help people, heal their past traumas and really become the best version of themselves. And you can find me on Instagram, Dom the Hypnotist, YouTube, Dom the Hypnotist, TikTok, Dom the Hypnotist, pretty much on all platforms. So
it's all the links below in the description. Please follow Dom. Yeah, I mean, trauma is everything, dude. It's like, I've been thinking a lot about like elementary school and high school when I was there, and how like any event happens to you, it's almost like walking through a landmine and boom, and that kind of limp sticks with you for the rest of your life if you don't deal with it. If you don't go, why do I feel like this? And, it took me a very long time. I mean, I got sober around 35 years old, and then I ended up getting sober again at like about almost, I think, 47. And it really took me like looking at a lot of things in my life, why things were happening, where did that come from, where's my trauma come from? And I think that scares people. Like a lot of people go out in recovery when they have to start going through like, either all the resentments they have or make all the, apologies they want to, they have to do. And it's very hard to do. It's very hard to look inside yourself because, again, in recovery, everything I ever learned in recovery is the opposite of what our culture tells us. Our culture loves to blame everybody else. There's this, It's so funny to me how not everybody, everyone listening shows into it, but there's so many people that just hate conspiracies, right? They hate conspiracies. And even though a conspiracy is just two people conspiring, that's all it is. Right. Two people conspiring, that's a conspiracy. But yet we have a predominant part of our culture that we'll talk about: institutional racism, the patriarchy, homophobia, all these things, which is a grand conspiracy.
Right.
A grand conspiracy to control you and hold you down so you can't rise. I'm not saying there aren't racist people. I'm not saying there weren't laws that weren't passed that had racism, but the notion that this whole group of people are conspiring against you to hold you down and not allow you to succeed like you could is a conspiracy in itself. So in my opinion, the left, the progressive left, they're all conspiracy theorists, even though they hate conspiracies.
Well, what's interesting is, there's a saying, the world is not as it is as you are. And what that means is that whatever your belief system, however you perceive reality, will be the world that you see. So if you think everybody's racist, you will create experiences in your life to be able to fit that narrative. And as a matter of fact, our beliefs become a self-fulfilling prophecy to feed our ego. And what I mean by that is, let's take, for example, okay, you have somebody that says everybody's racist and this is all going on. Well, what will happen is they will manifest experiences in their lives where it will prove to them that yes, racism is so bad and this and that, not necessarily because that's the outcome that they want to experience. It's because they want to be right about their beliefs. So it's kind of
Yes.
like, does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
They want to be able to say, see, I knew it. I told you so. I'm right. And there's a saying, in business, do you want to be right or do you want to be rich? It's like, do you want to be right in your ego or do you want to go out and create success? So
God,
I
wish I would have
wholeheartedly
learned
agree.
that a long time ago.
Yeah.
I might be
Right.
on a totally different path. But no, that's true. We manifest what we want and what we want to see. And it doesn't always involve positive things. It can manifest in negative things and negative actions and negative behaviors. And people don't realize that, it's like manifestation is real, regardless of whatever religion you want to believe in. There's some people call it the work of the devil, but I just think it's this energy field and you find what you're looking for. And it's really easy to, again, get into instant gratification and just complain about the world when you're not taking action.
Right. Well, you mentioned trauma, so I want to give a good takeaway for your audience of how trauma actually starts and why it sticks to us. So, everything that we go through in life is neutral, meaning there's no such thing as a good event. There's no such thing as a bad event. Everything is neutral. The thing that makes it good or bad is our perspective, right? So let's take the things that are going on in our world today, with Israel and people being bombed and all this other things. Is it good or bad? Well, depends who you ask, right? If you ask the people that are being bombed on, it's terrible, right? It's crimes against humanity. It's some of the worst things you could do to a human being. Now, on the flip side, you ask the opposite side, and they think it's great, right? For whatever reason. So what happens with trauma, from the time we're born till about 7 years old, we are just our subconscious mind. We haven't developed our conscious mind or really our prefrontal cortex to be able to decipher between what's right and what's wrong. So as we go through life and we have these quote unquote traumatic experiences, let's say, as an example, your parents divorce when you're 5 years old. Well, as a 5-year-old child, we may not realize that, hey, my parents divorced because they don't love each other. We don't have that ability to decipher that. And so we may take it as, my parents divorced because I'm not good enough or I'm not lovable. And so as we start to experience these different things, and we, again, adopt the belief at 5 years old that we're not good enough for love, well, as we continue to go through our lives, we will keep recreating those experiences to, again, prove to us that we aren't worthy of love until we can go back and figure out what happened, and then we can shift what it means. So again, it's a neutral event. Your parents divorced. Okay, good. You at 5 years old decided it was bad and it meant this. Well, now as an adult, you can go back and look at it and say, you know what? No, these are my lessons. These are the positive takeaways that I can take from this. And when we do that, the trauma instantly goes away, no matter how bad, no matter how deep it is.
Yep. Everything is a learning opportunity.
Absolutely.
Like when something, I say this all the time, the universe warns you and then it shows you.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, hey, dude, don't drink and drive. Don't drink and drive. Don't drink and drive. Bang, DUI. Bang, accident. God forbid somebody gets injured. And I had a good friend of mine who I love very much. He had that happen in his family. Someone who was Dave's daughter got behind a wheel and sadly some people died. And I guarantee you that wasn't the first time that guy drove drunk. And he just wasn't listening. And it's like, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And that's it, man. I mean, like, I got lucky, dude. I had a route home from the Comedy Store that when I drove drunk, I knew there would be no cops. But God forbid if something happened.
No, there's been plenty of times where I'll wake up at home and I'm like, I know I was drinking last night. Tell me my car isn't outside. And guess what the car's outside. That means I don't remember. And those are moments where, like, I could be waking up in jail.
Yeah.
And the cop telling me, you crashed someone or you killed someone. No, I didn't. And then they showed me a video and I don't remember that. I'm like, that must be the craziest thing to wake up and not remember any of what you did.
When I was a kid, I went to one of those Scared Straight program events, and I wanted to go so badly that I made something up for the teacher that I thought was going to get framed for a crime I didn't commit. Right. So she's like, what? I go, yeah, I feel it. She's like, okay, you can go. I'm like, yes.
Oh, so you made that. That's funny. You used to say that, but I didn't know you made it up. That's funny.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, like, everybody kind of has this kind of feel that something bad might be happening one way or the other. So I went, and one of the guys there was this Italian kid, and he told a story that one day he woke up in jail after a blackout covered in blood, and he never ever knew what happened. And he had taken somebody out that night, and he was in jail for it.
You ever woke up next to a girl that you don't remember even? Well, I shouldn't even say, have you ever? What I should say is, how many times have you woke?
It's so funny about women because they always say, oh, you're just drunk. You're just saying that. You're just drunk. And there is a little truth to that, right? But it's also like women get very weirded out if you're not in the consuming of alcohol ritual. That is such a giant part of our mating process. Once you stop drinking, you realize how big a role alcohol plays in the mating of men and women. Like, you know, it's almost like women like to have some drinks so they can have an excuse. If I wasn't drunk, I wouldn't have done that. And now we see guys getting in trouble for that shit, right? But it's like, it's a big part. They kind of want to give themselves an excuse for their 304 lifestyle, right? And it's really crazy when you once you quit something, you start to realize how it's everywhere, and it's a giant part of our culture.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. When I first learned hypnosis, I'd asked my trainer, I said, can you hypnotize drunk people? And he said, drunk people are the easiest to hypnotize because their critical faculty, like their ability to reason and logic, is just completely checked out. And so when people are drinking, that's what's happening. That voice in their head that's saying, hey, don't do this because of this or because of that, it goes away. And then we tap into our lower selves, which is ultimately our subconscious mind. And then we start acting on our carnal behaviors, right? The sex, the drugs, the alcohol, the eating, and all these different things. So the material stuff, right? And I think a lot of why, even outside of that, in addition to that, a lot of why we get stuck in that place is because we all deal with so much heartache, right? From, it could be something as simple as, you know, moving when you're a child and losing all of your friends, or your dog passing away, or your parents splitting up, or your grandma dying, or losing your best friend, or whatever. And what ends up happening is it begins to create a lot of imbalance in our heart chakra. So when our energy flows from our root all the way up to our crown and even beyond, if you can imagine, like, creating this blockage here, now all that energy is being pushed into our lower selves, which has to do with sex, money, and power ultimately. And that's where we get caught. And so once you start to heal that stuff, you start to heal those past traumas, the energy now starts flowing up through the heart chakra into the higher self, right? Which is, or the excuse me, not the higher, your higher self is something else, but into the higher chakras, right? Your throat, your pineal gland, and your crown. And then we start not indulging in those behaviors. So a lot of that comes from those little, or even getting rejected. You know, at 5 years old, you're chasing the girl, you really want to give her a kiss, and she says no. That starts to create those little traumas in that area. So
I think the first girl I ever really hit on was a girl named Shannon Quinlan. And she just kind of laughed in my face, and it kind of traumatized me for a long time.
Oh, absolutely.
Traumatized me. Probably through a lot of trauma outside of that too, kind of made it hard for me to pair bond. You know what I'm saying, to be honest.
100%.
And I have my father in me for sure.
I had isn't it funny how we all of us remember our first crush, or most of us do, and we remember their first and last name. I remember I crushed on this girl, Sarah Willis, and I remember it being like, man, you're really cute, but you have big ears. I'm like, damn, girl.
Yeah. It sticks with you. And that's just that mind just boom. Now your ears are an issue for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm. Sam, you have kids. Have you seen a traumatic moment in one of the kids while they're like maybe running around in the yard or with another kid, where you can see like, oh, that kid's going to remember that for forever?
There are times where I go, things that have happened, not for me, obviously, because my whole thing is like, I don't want to inflict any trauma on these kids. Now, when you're raising children, you have to discipline them. And sometimes the kids, that could be traumatizing, you know, because you got to get really stern with them. They push back, and sometimes you got to get a little loud, you know, because it's just, you can't go through life not disciplining your children. You are raising wild animals. So, I mean, that could come up as something later on, but there's moments where I'm like, oh, that might stick. That might stick. And, you know, it's hard.
So you mentioned not wanting to traumatize your children. And unfortunately, Sam, it's too late. And I'll tell you why. Not because of anything.
Spank them all the time. Hey, I don't
Here's
want to do
why.
this, but we're already fucked. So bang, bang, bang.
Even if we are the best parents we can possibly be, what happens is any of your traumas, your dad's traumas, your dad's traumas, any of that stuff that's unhealed, when you have children, that is encoded in the DNA and it's passed down to, oh yeah, absolutely, on both sides of the family. And while your baby's mother, your wife, whoever is pregnant with the children, anything that she experiences gets passed down to them. And I can share with you many stories, but ultimately through the process of hypnosis, you can actually tap into those genetic memories without nobody ever telling you what happened. And you can get exactly where the trauma is coming from. Again, it could be from your grandfather that you never met, and you could be adopted, and you can still tap into these different traumas and heal them. And again, unfortunately, they will, regardless of how much we want to, baby them or pamper them or be that parent that doesn't create the trauma. They're already coming into the life with trauma. And the good thing is, though, is like you're obviously consciously aware of that, and just being who you are as a dad. Even without doing hypnosis or meditation, things in our life can heal trauma. Like just a simple conversation with somebody can let something that they don't even know they have let go. So yes, it's a little too late, but there's still hope, right? There's still good growth to be made little girls.
My father is a good man. He's not perfect, made a ton of mistakes. Me and my brother might have a different view of our father, we've had conversations about my dad, and we have a very different view of him. It's very weird, and I don't want to get too much into that, except for the fact that, as a kid, I would see my father couldn't play well with others. He just couldn't do it. Like my brother said this the other day, which I thought, if you were on my dad's level or perceived as under his level, he had the biggest heart with you. The biggest heart. I remember a kid stole my bike, and I was so pissed because it had these awesome mag wheels on it. And all I wanted was the mag wheels on it. But because my dad was from such a poor family, at least that's what he told me, that I kind of thought, like, my grandfather worked in a factory back when that meant something. But my dad always told me he was broke. He literally took the mag wheels and gave the kid the bike. And I'm like, Dad, that's not how you help that kid in any way, shape, or form. But that's how my father... That's how he treated
wheels now, Dad. Like what?
Yeah, but it's like that's how he treated.
Steal somebody's wheels.
Yeah, you're totally right. It's like, what's this kid gonna do with it? It's gonna be more junk on his front yard.
Just steal somebody else's wheels now.
So, but if you were above him, my dad always had issues with you. Always could never play well with others. And I later on saw that as part of my programming, and it took a long time through recovery to realize, it's like to play the game of life, help people achieve their goals. You got to help people achieve their goals, right? So, but one day I had a conversation with my dad about, like, why did he act the way he did? Why did he not get along with his partner in real estate? Why did he have a problem with the people he worked with? Why did he have a problem with the other realtors? And he just was like, kind of, why was he so paranoid? And he told me, because that's how he was raised. That's how his parents were. And they told me a story about one time when he was in Frankfurt, New York, and he was with his dad at his grandma's. And, he asked his dad, can we go now? And his grandma just smacked the shit out of him. And I'm like, oh man, times have changed, dude. You would never do that, ever. But that traumatized him. That really traumatized him. He says he got hit by a car when he was at Catholic school. He had a very, very, very disdain for the Catholic Church, which makes me think more happened than he probably wants to admit. You know what I'm saying? But when he told me that, I understood him. I understood how he acted because it was trauma. And then I kind of looked at my own life and how I never got along with authority ever. I never wanted, to the point like when I got cut by my 8th grade basketball team, and this moment in my life changed my life. I get cut from the basketball team. I find a conspiracy on why I didn't get in on the basketball team, which for a long time I wanted to believe. And then I realized I probably just wasn't good enough because I wasn't athletic at all. But I had this dream of being the first white player to play for John Thompson's Georgetown Hoyas. And that kind of dashed that dream at that point. But so I had this dream. It kind of gets dashed at that point. But that moment, it really affects me because I go, nobody gets me. They don't get me. I'm never going to rely on anybody to be in a position to tell me what I can and cannot do. And look at my career. I've been completely outside the structure of Hollywood. I never wanted an agent. I didn't trust them. I didn't want managers. Well, when I got them, I fired them instantly because I felt like they didn't get me. And then I ended up making my living off of this super indie way of doing it, which worked out in the long run. I mean, thank God this new style of content creating came along that I fully am grateful for. But going back to what you're saying, Dom, it's like, yeah, I see that myself as well.
Amazing memory. Are you aware that you have like a really, really good memory? Like
Don't tell my girlfriend that.
Do you have a photographic memory?
I don't know if I have that. I have it in certain things. I can remember crystal clear things. And then other stuff, it's hazy. But yeah, I remember all these moments.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, so have you guys ever been driving on the freeway and say you're in a really good mood, right? You're just jamming out to whatever, some music, and you're just vibing. And then maybe the song changed, or you went by, you saw a billboard or a restaurant or something that reminded you of a person or a time in your life. And then all of a sudden you go from high vibe to like pissed or sad or hurt. Have you guys know what I'm talking about?
There's a song, I'm Just a Girl in This World. Anytime I hear about it, I think about the stripper I used to date in Vegas and just like how crazy that time was.
No doubt.
Yeah. She used to dance to that. Yeah. And it always, every time I hear it, I think of Simone.
Do you think that you think about her in a positive way, or is it almost like kind of a negative experience, or maybe almost even nostalgic? Or
I think about how sad I was for her. Because she was such a good person and she had so much trauma. And that's all I ever think is like, that poor girl was so beautiful, like so beautiful. And she just was so into low vibrational stuff because of all the trauma in her life.
Right. So the reason I share that is because you mentioned how you can remember things, like certain things really well and certain things not. And sometimes what happens is when we're in those, we're driving, we're kind of in that meditative state, or right before we go to bed or right when we wake up, our conscious mind that's the doer throughout the day, getting stuff done and all that, it's sort of checked out. And so what happens is our subconscious mind opens up and it'll start to flood us with all these different memories of unresolved traumas and things we haven't dealt with. And when we can pause in that moment and look at it from an outside perspective and let it go, it really helps. One thing you mentioned about this just came to my mind when you mentioned the stripper in Vegas. You know what's so funny about guys who make fun of women that are strippers, right? What's the old misnomer, or it might even be a misnomer. It's probably a real truth. But what do they say about women that are strippers? They have what kind of issues?
Daddy issues.
Daddy issues, right? Now, what's interesting about those men that are making fun of those women for having daddy issues, more often than not, those men have daddy issues or even mommy issues themselves.
Projection.
And what's happening? It's a projection. Exactly. And they're seeing their own trauma play out in front of them, and they're attracted to it because they haven't let it go. So
there is a saying, every accusation is, every accusation is an admission.
Wow. It's true. It's true. It's like she has daddy issues and it's like, wait a minute.
So, I think you have, yeah. Here's an interesting, I have a couple of friends or people who used to be friends who are huge name comics, and they have humongous father issues. I mean, humongous, like abandonment, trauma with their fathers, and they're these humongous comics. Like, and then you see the girls who have issues with their father, and it seems to be like the train goes off the tracks.
Right.
And I found that very interesting. You know, and some guys overcome it, some don't. We have prisons full of men
Right.
and women who didn't have fathers in their lives. But I always found it very weird. There's a lot of really famous, successful comics who have humongous issues with their fathers. It's very interesting to me.
Have you heard that story? And I don't know if it's a real story or made up story. There's a sort of a analogy or whatever you want to call it. There's a gentleman who's walking through Central Park in New York City, and he finds this guy who's a homeless guy sitting on a bench. So he sits down next to him and he starts, asking him questions and, getting to know him. And he asks him like, "Hey man, how did you end up here?" Right. And the guy said, "Well, my dad was an alcoholic. He used to beat me and he just was a piece of shit. And that's why I ended up homeless." Well, that same guy who's going around, meeting people in Central Park, he ends up finding this other guy who was dressed to the nines, got a Rolex on, just like looks like a stockbroker, looks like a millionaire, right? So he sits down next to him and he starts chit-chatting him and he's like, "Man, you've created so much success for yourself. How did you do this? What drives you?" And he said, "Well, my father was an alcoholic. He used to beat me, and I decided that I'll never be like my father, and I use that to fuel my success."
Yes.
So I think it just comes down to our perspective, right?
Yes, and our will to achieve. It's like, what did Carlin say, Johnny? Like, hard work is genetic.
Yeah, he talked about he's like, even hard work is genetic in some way. Yeah.
It is. It's unbelievable to me how it can cripple some and bolster others. It's really crazy. You have some stories about past trauma that I really think it was interesting. You have one of the most interesting two super interesting stories. One involves a picture of a spirit. Do you remember that story?
Oh yeah, of course.
Can you tell us that story?
Yeah. So, okay. Let me think of where I want to start here. And I want to make sure that I leave out any details of
who they are,
the people involved. Yeah. So, when I first got into hypnosis, I, like most people, thought it's black magic, it's mind control, it's the devil. And I'm not Christian. I don't, have any specific religion, but I know that there's right and wrong. Right. So getting into it, and then I learned that it's not that. It's all about healing and elevating your consciousness and things like this. So throughout my journey, I started to open up to these different spiritual, concepts of good and evil and the spirit realm per se. And it's interesting. Before I got into all this, I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe in ghosts and spirits and all this other stuff. And throughout this process, I know there's a God now. And I say that because of the story I'm going to share with you right now. So during COVID, I had a buddy of mine who went to jail and he just got out right in the thick of COVID. We're talking like April 2020, everything shut down. Everything's all going to shit. Right. And this friend of mine, when he gets out of prison, he hits me up. He's like, "Yo, Dom, I got out of jail, man. I haven't seen you in a while. Let's hang out." So I'm like, "Cool." So I pick him up in my car and we're driving around and he's telling me prison stories, just funny stuff, nothing crazy like stabbings and stuff, just stupid stuff, And as he was telling me this story, he was talking about, he goes, "Man, I just got out of prison. I'm a felon. I don't know what to do with my life." He's like, "I'm at a crossroads. There's a part of me that says, hey, I want to do right. I want to go get a job and just work a normal career. But there's another part of me that just wants to embrace my outlaw lifestyle." So, and by the way, to give you a little context of this gentleman, he's a Christian. Okay. He's got Bible verses tatted, crosses, everything. Yeah. His brother's a pastor and his father's a pastor. So just to give you some context around this. And so he's telling me, I want to embrace my outlaw side. And he's a biker. Okay. Now I won't mention the name because I don't want any blowback from this group of people. But you can use your imagination on who I'm speaking about. So he's like, yeah, man, this biker crew wants to recruit me. And I'm thinking about just going all in on being an outlaw and just embracing that side of me. And I told him, I go, look, man, I go, be careful with that stuff, because at the lower levels, they're probably not doing anything crazy. Probably seems like just a club and a hangout and stuff like this. But at the higher levels, I'm telling you right now that these people are doing dark stuff. Whether they're, and some of them are probably more conscious and more, more serious about it than others, right? So he's like, nah, it's just a motorcycle club, whatever. Okay, cool. So we're hanging out a little bit longer. We go to get gas, and well, I guess what I'm about to say is going to give up the name anyway. So whatever. We're pumping gas, and another little backtrack a little bit. The gentleman that I know, he was in the military. I don't know what ages, but he joined the military when he was 18, went over to Iraq and Afghanistan, I believe, fought there, came back, was just different. Right. And this gentleman, every time I hung out with him, he had this strange look in his eye. Like this look, like, the 1,000-yard stare that they talk about.
Yes.
Like you could tell either this guy's killed some people or he's seen people killed. He never told me. I never asked. I don't want to know, whatever. But he had this look in his eye, and he always seemed funny, super charismatic, but just seemed like something could set him off and he's going to go full apeshit. Right. So anyways, to give you a little understanding of the person I'm talking about. So anyways, we're sitting there pumping gas, waiting for the tank to fill up. And he's sitting in my passenger seat, and he's scrolling through his phone, and he goes, look, this is the sergeant in arm of the Hells Angels. And he goes, look, and I look at it, and on this guy's jacket, it says his name or whatever. And then it says Satan. Okay. Or sorry, Hells Angel. And it says Satan. And then a giant 666. Right. So pretty obvious who's,
dude.
What's that?
Damn.
Yeah, and it may not be the whole club, but it could just be this one gentleman, right? But I go, look, dude, I told you. Look, it says right here, Satan 666, and he grabs his phone. So he's turned to me like this. I'm looking. So if you can imagine, you're looking at me sideways, and he goes like this. He grabs his phone, he kind of blinks, and then his body goes like this. And then he turned and he looked at me, and for the first time, that look that was in his eye was gone. It was like, I'm looking at a different person. So I'm looking at this dude. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, am I tripping right now? Or does he look different? He looks different. And again, and I'm thinking like his body did this weird contortion thing. I don't know how to explain it. So, and he goes, dude, you're right. He goes, I can't believe I never saw that. Like, how did I not see it? It's literally the biggest thing on the jacket. Right. So whatever, we hang out a little bit longer, and he's just thanking me. He's like, dude, you're right, man. I'm so glad we had this conversation. He's like, you're right. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get on the right path, and, I'm going to do the right thing. So we hang out a little bit longer. I drop him off. I go home that night, go to bed, just like any other night, not thinking anything of it. And in my sleep, I had one of those very vivid dreams that seem like they're real, like it's actually happening. You can't really tell. And in this dream, I'm hanging out with my buddy that I was just with, and we're chit-chatting. I don't know about what, but at some point we turn to face each other. And when we turn to face each other, this goblin demon looking thing jumps out of his face like this and jumps at me and like screams like, rah, right?
Whoa.
So this happens. I wake up out of my sleep and I'm like, holy shit, like what the hell was that, right? And I kid you not, man, my chest, my stomach, even my legs felt like almost as if somebody poured hot water. Like everything was burning, but not like burnt. I don't know how to explain it. But it was super hot. What's that?
You got slimed.
Got slimed. So I'm thinking, all right, I'm just tripping. There's nothing to see here. It's just my imagination, whatever. Well, around this time, I had been working with a gentleman who he taught me how to do remote viewing and really tapping into my intuition, starting to see things before they happen, all that kind of stuff. And matter of fact, this gentleman, and I'll tell you the Clinton story with this guy here in a minute. He was a Navy SEAL for 24 years. And then he was in the CIA as a contractor for 11 years. So this guy's like, no bullshit. His name's Michael Jaco.
He's deep in it. He's
deep in it. Like he knows what he's a real motherfucker. Like he's no joke. He's no, sideshow guy. So anyways, he was teaching me all these different things. And so I had my one-on-one call with him, and I told him the story and everything else. And he does this little thing where he like taps into the field, and he goes like, oh, yep. He goes, that was a demon. He goes, look, man, it's trying to scare you. It's trying to get you in fear so that you don't, hang around your buddy or whatever. So you just got to make sure that you don't get afraid. You have to stay in the love vibration. So from my teachings, from what I learned from him, is that so we have attachments, we have demons and different entities, but for demons, they're low vibrational beings, right?
Yes.
So if you think of a frequency scale, like the rainbow thing we see, they're down in guilt and shame and fear and all that. So when we are in a very low vibration, we can open ourselves up to attachments. And if we open ourselves long enough, that attachment could ultimately, you can invite entities, right? So he's like, you got to stay in the love vibration, because the love vibration, are you guys still there?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. I'm seeing a little thing on the screen. So the love vibration is like light to a vampire, right? Or sunlight to a vampire. They can't stay in it. It makes them go away. So you got to stay in high vibration. So anyways, this happens. Cool. Well, fast forward. And again, this is like now it's around maybe close to summer or right in summer. And I had this thought, and I said, man, there's so much going on in the world. And I do a lot of work with people healing traumas and things like that in the physical realm. But I feel like something is calling me to help more of like the spiritual warfare that's going on, the unseen. So I had this thought, and I was kind of ruminating on it. And a week later, I hop on my call with the Navy SEAL guy. And the first thing he tells me is, he goes, very serious, like no bullshit. He's like, Dom, I've been instructed by the angelic realm to teach you how to cast demons out of people. Now, mind you, I'm doing my hardest not to laugh. I'm like holding it back, like angelic realm,
wow,
demons, So anyways, he proceeds and he tells me how to do it, right? So he talks about the love vibration, the whole thing. So what he said was, he goes, look, throughout the next week or two, you're going to get a hit of like somebody that you think needs some of this energy because they may have an attachment or a demon. There's a difference between attachments and demons, but we don't need to get into that. And just do the technique. So I said, okay, cool. Week went by, or week or two went by. I jumped back on it. Now this next part is mind blowing. Okay. And this has to do with this podcast. That's why I love this podcast so much. So it was, I think it was Monday, if I'm not mistaken, October 13th, 2021. Okay. I jump on a call at about 11 o'clock with this guy. And I said, hey man, nobody came to my mind. Nothing really happened. What do I do? So he said, okay, what I want you to do is pick somebody. So rather than waiting for that person to come to you, just pick somebody you want to target to do the technique. So I said, okay, cool. So we get off our call at 12 o'clock. And then right about 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and you can document this or check this, I'm pretty sure this is the time, you guys on Tinfoil Hat had just released a podcast with Nathaniel Gillis, the demonologist. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So this was like 3-4 years ago now. So it was the demonology podcast. So I'm like, oh, what a coinky dink, right? We're listening to, I was just talking to this guy about demons. They released the demonology podcast. Let me listen to this guy. Now, mind you, Nathaniel's talking some crazy stuff. He's talking about demons impregnating people and all kinds of shit. So I'm like, bro,
let's go.
What? So this is where it gets really weird. So I listen to the podcast. I'm like, yeah, maybe not, whatever. I'm open to
take
anything. It. Yeah, we'll take it. So later on that night, right before I went to bed, I remember I'm like, oh, I got to pick somebody, got to do the technique. So I'm like, who do I do? I'm like, oh, my buddy, the guy I just told you about, the biker guy. So I close my eyes, do my thing, and then go right to sleep. That's it. Well, then right at about 12:15, I wake up and I'm in sleep paralysis. Have you guys ever had sleep paralysis before?
Johnny's a ton of times.
A ton of times. So I used to have sleep paralysis a lot when I was younger, and I think I know why now, but it's hard to prove. But I'm in sleep paralysis. However, this time is different than every single other time, because as I'm in sleep paralysis, there's something in my left ear growling like this. It sounds like this.
Whoa.
All right.
So I'm hearing, and I can I'm getting the chills just retelling. I haven't told the story in a while, but it's in my left ear. I can almost feel the energy off my ear. So I'm laying there, I'm paralyzed. This thing is screaming in my ear. It's growling in my ear and I can't move. So I start panicking in my head. I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? I shouldn't be messing with this. This is not, this is not for me. I start panicking. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. My teacher said, don't panic, just do the love vibration. So I was like, okay, as I'm paralyzed, I'm thinking about my daughter. And mind you, my now wife, who's my fiance or girlfriend back then, she's sitting next to me. My daughter's over there. I'm like, so I do the love vibration thing. The growling goes away. I can finally move again. So I'm laying in bed for 15 minutes, just tripping. What the fuck just happened? Am I dreaming? Whatever. So I'm like, all right, I need to get my mind off this. I'm going to go in the living room and turn on the TV. So I go through my apartment at the time and I literally turn on every single light, hallways, bathroom, kitchen, dining room, everything. I'm like, fuck this, dude. So I go turn on the TV, pour myself a bowl of oats or whatever it's called. And I'm sitting there just eating, pull up my phone to go on Instagram. And I pull up my direct messages. And guess who I have a direct message from?
Your buddy.
Nope.
You.
Nathaniel Gillis.
Whoa.
Yeah, dude. So I'm this is a reality breaker for me. My third eye is oh, is this really happening? So I'm looking at this guy. I'm like, is this the demonologist that I was just listening to on the Tinfoil Hat podcast later that day? So I'm going back and forth. I'm like, this is him. So I start messaging him. And what happened was he had followed me a month prior to this interaction. But my team had sent him a intro message that we do with new followers, and he never responded. And for whatever reason, that night at 12:25, right as this is all happening, he responds to me. So anyways, I explained to him everything we just mentioned. And he's like, yeah, man. So we hop on a call. It's probably 3 o'clock in the morning, his time, 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'm telling him the whole story. And he goes, yeah, man. He's like, people think I'm crazy. He goes, it's real. And, he said, alcohol, drugs, and my buddy was, drinking, and that he got a DUI. That's how he ended up in prison. It'll invite this in. So you got to be really, really careful. But I remember that's one of the most memorable times of my life. And when I lived in an apartment at the time, I was sitting in my car outside in the parking lot. And man, I'll tell you, I have never had clearer vision in my life. I could see every detail of every little blade of grass. I could see all the leaves on the tree were very bright, and it was a very awakening experience for me. So that was my first experience with this whole demon stuff. Now, do you want me to go through the?
Wait, I got a question. Was the demon? Was it a demon? Was it a succubus? And was it trying to possess you? Was it just?
What it was doing. So again, there's no real way to prove what it was, but based off my intuition and even working with my guy, it was a demonic entity. And what was happening is, because essentially I got my buddy to not join the Hells Angels. So he's going down the path of righteousness and light and everything like that. And then now I'm doing this technique to help him, because even if things leave, they can come back, right? If you start dabbling and playing with, whatever, drinking and all that. And so it was essentially just trying to scare me, right? It was trying to get me to stop. And so, yeah. And then that's what happened. And then there was I don't know if you want to talk about the other experience where
yes,
I actually have a picture.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Do you have that picture still?
Oh yeah. I'll pull it up for you here in a second.
Yeah, for sure.
So
this is a crazy story.
This is wild. Yeah.
Or a crazier story.
Yeah. Right. So months later, or it's probably actually almost a year later, it might have been. I'll pull it up here. So I just want to, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can.
So moving forward with the experience, I become aware of that there is and that moment that I just shared with you, that's what got me to know that there's a God, because I figured, okay, if demons exist, then that means angels and God, right?
So sometimes it's the darkness. The evil always proves the light and the love.
It really does, right? So fast forward some time later, I had a team member who had signed up this woman to work with me, and we jump on our first session, and this girl's gorgeous, like stunning, very beautiful, successful, like, you wouldn't think anything's going on. But when I was talking to her, I had this intuition that something was off. Like, I don't know what it is. This girl seems like there's something dark, some type of dark energy, or I don't know. So we do our first session, whatever, goal. She feels amazing. Then 2 weeks later, we do our next session. And when we jump on our call, she's like, oh my God, Dom, these past 2 weeks have just been hell. And I'm like, what's going on? And she goes, well, I've been drinking every night, doing cocaine with my boyfriend, and I'm staying up so late that I'm starting to hallucinate. She said, I'm starting to see spirits in my room. So I'm thinking, like, you're not seeing spirits. It's the drugs and alcohol that are removing the veil. And now you're seeing what's there. Right?
Yes.
And her partaking in those experiences will start to invite that energy in. Right. So, and she goes, and on top of that, I keep having this reoccurring nightmare that I've had since I was like 5 years old. So I said, okay, let's work on this nightmare. Right. So I regress her under hypnosis, and when you're under hypnosis, you're not asleep. You're aware of what's going on, but you're in this kind of like fuzzy place. Right. So she's going back, and she's sitting up against a wall. Okay. Her back's up against the wall like this. I'm looking at her like this. At the time, I think I was using FaceTime. I don't think I was using Zoom. And behind her is a mirror, and the mirror is comprised of these like honeycomb pieces. So it's like a little piece here, piece here, piece here, right? So we're going back to this memory, and as we start to release it, she starts breathing really heavily, and she's telling me about the experience. And as this is happening, the left side of her face starts glitching out, like it just gets super digital.
Wow.
So now, and I'm kind of like, that's really weird. Like usually when your screen does that, it's the whole thing, not just like a certain part of your body, right?
Yeah.
So we're still talking through it, and then all of a sudden the glitch goes from the left side of her face to now her entire left side of her body. So I'm like, damn, that's so weird. It's just her body. Okay, whatever. And as we're continuing, this glitch now starts coming out of her face like this, like her whole body. It starts coming out like this, and I can see it sort of
like venom
coming out of, kind of like that. Like it's like something like is coming off of her, right? And by the way, as this is happening, she is practically having an orgasm, is what it sounded like. She wasn't really, but like she was like, oh my God. Oh my God. I feel like energy's leaving my body. This feels so good. And I'm just, as she's saying it, I'm just seeing this thing. And so it's coming out of her body. It starts rising up above her head. And as I'm on my computer, I'm like, holy shit, I think I'm seeing like an entity come out of this woman. So I grab my phone. I just take a bunch of pictures as this is happening. Whatever, boom, I bring her back, and she comes back to now, right? And she's conscious, and she's sitting like this, and she turns like this, and she looks at me, and she goes, and I remember it so vividly. So I remember everything that happened. She touches herself on the chest and goes, oh my God, Dom, I finally feel like myself. And she goes, I haven't felt like myself in years. And I go, well, this is going to sound kind of weird, but I think I know why you may not have felt like yourself. So I showed her the pictures, and at first I couldn't, it was just like a blob. And I explained to her, I'm like, hey, when you were doing this, there was like this gray energy thing coming out of you, whatever. So whatever, we finish our call, and after I go through and I start looking at the pictures, and this is what I captured. So let me pull it up here on the screen. Here we go. Can you guys see that?
Whoa.
So this part is me blocking out her face.
Yeah.
This is the wall, and this is the mirror, and this was what I captured.
Look at that.
So you can see the forehead,
Yep.
the eyebrow, the eye socket,
Yep.
the nose.
Yep.
Even right here, I don't know if you guys can see clear, but there's like a
shit.
little nostril.
Yeah.
Okay. The lips, the chin,
It
and
looks like it's wearing like a tux or something. Like I don't know.
Or it's got super
yeah.
skinny
it's because the
neck.
mirror.
Oh, that was the mirror.
But that is what came out of her. So obviously that deepened my I have a picture of it, and there's no AI, there's no editing. That the only thing I did is I took her picture, I covered her face so nobody knows who she is, and that was it. So again,
and just
all these.
so you know, Dom showed me this picture, like I want to say like 5 years ago, 4 years ago, when we had dinner before the AI craze came out.
Oh yeah.
So
Way
it's like
long.
that's
And I don't
not
know how to
AI at all.
Photoshop.
Yeah, I don't either, dude.
Ah.
No, dude, he showed me that a long time ago, and I was like, holy shit.
Well, if you're hearing this, go to samtripoli.com to watch this, or YouTube at Tinfoil Hat YouTube.
You want to see the picture?
Yeah, and
if
hit
you wanna see the
subscribe.
picture, yeah.
Hit subscribe. We're at 1.2 thousand because it's a brand new channel, so it's growing. So my question to you is this: what is the what were you doing during this that was kind of summoning this demon to leave her body?
It was just releasing trauma. So remember, demons feed off that low vibration. And so because she'd been drinking and all that, and she kept having a reoccurring nightmare, she was in the guilt, the shame, and the fear. So because we went back to this reoccurring memory that she had, and we released the trauma and we raised the frequency of her vibration, that demon can't stay in that vibration anymore. So it has to leave. Again, just picture the sunlight to a vampire. It's like, I gotta go. So it was her releasing her trauma is what helped her through that, through releasing that entity. And yeah, man, it's fascinating. Like,
Was this Vegas? Was she from Vegas?
No, she wasn't from Vegas. It was all virtual.
Okay.
No, she wasn't from Vegas, but definitely Vegas has, I don't do a whole lot of sessions now. I train, but all my stuff is all done virtual. And I think what happened is, you know how like there's infrared camera and there's X-ray and there's a different frequency that those cameras can tune into. I think the camera of the FaceTime, right? Because it wasn't Zoom, it was FaceTime. I think there's some, at least back then, I don't know if it's changed, but there's a mechanism that caught that thing coming out of her, right? Like if I was with her in person, I might not have seen it, but because of the whatever the spectrum of light that the camera captured, it captured it coming out of her. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So there's been this myth going around, or the story going around, about how night vision goggles were originally red. And what was happening was that the fighter pilots were seeing things that weren't coming on the radar. There were all these things flying around them, and they were freaking the fuck out. So they had to change the lens, and I think it's now green night vision goggles to kind of get rid of that spectrum to see maybe another dimension, or whatever you would call. What would you call what that guy was in? A dimension,
yeah, I would
right?
say, another dimension.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy shit, dude.
I've heard that same thing, and I believe it, man. Like, I saw yesterday or the day before on Instagram, and who knows, I didn't do my research. This is a quick pop-up, but it said this guy disappeared after he exposed this or created this, and he had basically like a piece of glass, but like a certain piece of glass, and he was doing this thing where he'd move it in front of the camera and you would start seeing like a UFO, and it could have been fake, who knows, but I've heard that same story. I think it was Vietnam, right?
Yeah. I mean, they were freaking out. They were seeing things flying in the sky that weren't coming on the radar. So they had to flip that.
Well, I don't know if they faked it, but I mean, Johnny might know. I don't know how much real it is, but supposedly there was a Tesla that was detecting ghosts.
Oh yeah,
And
right.
I mean, those things, anything that is in the remote shape of a person, because I know what you're talking about. They took a car into a graveyard, but anytime it detects like a tree or a gravestone, it's good.
But even when it was
shows
driving, it was starting to see that.
I see it. I see it all the time. Know when I'm driving, and it's always something there that's kind of the shape of a person, like a tree, or
So it's programmed into it.
Yeah,
because
it's sensitive to pedestrians because it doesn't want you to run over people.
Well, okay, I agree, but you don't think maybe one of them could actually be a real ghost that, if for once,
I mean,
maybe
it's possible.
caught?
I'm not going to tell you Santa Claus isn't real, dude. I mean,
it could be.
You can believe for as long as you want to believe.
AI can get so smart it can detect ghosts. You don't know that.
I mean, AI might itself be spirits, so
there you
we
go.
might be dealing with the occult in that. So, Dom, before we get into the healing part, because I'd like to get to that as well, but. And if you don't want to talk about this, you don't have to. But you told me a story about one of your guys worked for the Clintons and saw some dark stuff that was very traumatizing to him. And, the Jeffrey Epstein stuff's really big right now. Tim Dillon did a funny kind of rant where he was talking about, like, just choose whatever pedophile your beliefs line up with and get behind them, because they're all over the place. So... And, that's a funny ass fucking rant, dude. It's like, obviously he's not being serious, but maybe, I don't know. But, it is so prevalent. But again, there's this thing, I think, with Epstein that they did, which was, kind of trying to make it seem like, dude, he's just like hot high school chicks. They're hot. What do you want? It's like, it's not that bad. But, and, this is along the lines of when they went after Chris D'Elia. I said this on the other show, but it's true. Like, they were trying to paint him as like this kind of the face of this dark side of Hollywood. And I go, oh, no. We're not talking about 17-year-olds who are modern day been so sexualized through the internet that they're acting like 22-year-olds. And I'm not saying you should be with 17-year-olds. That's not what I'm saying. But the 17-year-olds of today are not the 17-year-olds when I was going to school or when my dad was going to school. They're totally different. They have different experiences. I'm not saying it's okay, but I mean, they're not the innocents that they used to be.
It is weird though, because when you look, remember, there's this thing also where you look at photos of people who are like 20 from that age and they look like they're 40.
Yeah,
so it's also that.
Well, that is it too. Like, it's a different kind of experiences, right? Like,
yeah.
Like they're very advanced in some ways and in some ways, and very behind the times in other ways. But they tried to paint him as that, and I was like, "No, dude, you're just trying to divert attention from the real problem, which is, what these elites do to very, very small children." And again, it's super dark. But if you're comfortable with talking,
I'll
you
share
don't have
the
to
story.
give names. But it was I was like, "Holy shit!"
So first, I want to mention something, because you mentioned Tim Dillon telling a story, and it's obviously like we don't want to laugh at people's traumas. What I will say though is part of the reason why so many people have woken up or are waking up in the past 5-6 years is because of guys like you guys who are comedians who can take a very serious topic and make it funny. Because here's what happens. When we're laughing and we're entertained by something, our critical faculty that normally would be like, that's bullshit, that's not real, that's how it's down, which allows the ideas of the comedian to be shifted and sink into the subconscious to actually, so that the person actually realizes, oh, hey, yeah, our world is ran by satanic pedophiles, right? And that's why guys like Alex Jones and all these people are so successful, because they can get that part of the part of the brain that would usually say this isn't logical to shut down. So I just want to say that. And with the story, so it was the gentleman that I just mentioned that was my teacher, Michael Jaco. So he's again, former Navy SEAL for 24 years, CIA contractor, security contractor for 11 years.
That's crazy.
So throughout his journey of going through the Navy SEALs and all this, like, he started to wake up to different things, 9/11, all this, right? Over the years, you start to kind of become aware. Well, I don't remember if it was when he was a Navy SEAL or a CIA contractor. I believe it was when he was a contractor. He said that he was contracted to be on Hillary Clinton's detail. Now, I don't know what level or how deep, but what he shared with me was there was, I don't know if it was one night or multiple nights. And he said one night he's on security detail and he saw a group of local Afghanistan or whatever. I think it was where that was it bad? I don't know. It doesn't matter. But a local group of local kids, right? Darker skinned kids from that region were ushered into her room at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And after that, never heard anything about it ever. So is he lying? I highly doubt that. He had no reason to lie to me. We're on a one-on-one conversation, and it just makes you think. And another thing he shared with me, and I'm not this guy, I'm just telling what somebody told me, so you can take it or leave it. This isn't really my world. But he had also told me that when he was around this same time frame, he was, doing his job or whatever, and he was in the back seat of like some type of SUV or something, and there was another CIA guy back there with him. And as they were sitting in the back, he said he started to see this guy transform into a reptilian. And he said it's not like what you think, like it's physical per se. He started to see almost like a 3D kind of like see-through glitch start to happen.
That's what David Icke talks about.
Oh, he says the same thing.
He talks about that. It's not physical. It's more of it's an energy suit. More of, I don't know what the word is, but he says it's more of an energy suit. Like
that makes sense.
And even like he doesn't even know which is the real suit. Is it the human body or is it the other one? It's an energy field almost.
Yeah, that's what he said he saw, and like it was like a little glitch, and then he shifted back in, and he said the guy looked at him and just kind of like gave him the look, like, I know, but there's nothing you're going to be able to do about it, kind of situation. So who knows? It's hard to say. It's hard to believe a lot of these things. Again, that's not really my world, reptilians and all this stuff, but it's interesting, and again, this guy's a witness, credible guy, Navy SEAL, CIA, no dump truck. And he's saying he saw kids being ushered into her room, at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like why is the former wife of the former president of the United States having little kids ushered into her room at 3 o'clock in the morning? You know what I mean? It's a little weird.
And the amount of trauma it takes to usher children into that room.
Could you imagine?
What has that guy been through? And like, obviously, again, I've been talking about this. Our programming gets so strong and traumatizing that it overrides our basic instinct, which is to protect children at all costs.
Right.
Over and over again.
I was listening to a podcast the other day. It was one of Jeffrey Epstein's victims. I think I saw her on the Sean Atwood podcast, and she was talking about how Epstein had shifted into reptilian one night. She said it was just a very quick thing, but she was in his bed, it was nighttime, and he shifted into a reptilian and then shifted back. But she claims that that he was a reptilian. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not opposed to it. You know what I mean? I'm open to it.
So the mother of my children sent me a video the other day. When she watches a video, she thinks it's in my world, she'll send it to me. And so according to this video, there's a famous story of, and this is going to be funny, but it's kind of weird. But Billy Corgan goes on Joe Rogan, I believe it was Rogan, and talks about he saw a shapeshifter. He saw someone shift shape. And so this video basically comes out and says who that person was.
That shifted.
Yes. Do you know who it was? You're going to die when you hear it. Tila Tequila.
No.
Oh, that's right.
They have been saying it's not the same her.
What?
I've heard people that it's not the same Tila Tequila.
Because what he says is, and it's kind of a weird humble brag, but when they orgasm or hold their breath, they can't maintain the illusion that they have, and they kind of glitch out.
Wow.
I mean, and this story told on Rogan. I mean, I know he's eccentric, but that's a really crazy statement to say on the biggest podcast in the world. And then for that person to be Tila Tequila, who isn't held in the highest standards, is kind of crazy. And that's not the only weird story. Like, there's a famous 4chan post about Adele. And it said that a bunch of her fans were backstage at one of her shows and they all saw her shapeshift. And I kind of didn't think anything about it. I go, okay, that's just a crazy internet story. But then you remember when Adele disappears and then suddenly comes back and is a smoke show?
Yeah, a lot of her disappeared.
Yeah, a lot of her. She's
back.
like, I lost all this weight. You're like, or did you shapeshift?
Yeah, those are pretty skinny.
Now she's dating Rich Paul, like top
Really?
shelf.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you had to guess two people, like you just spin the wheel on who's gonna date each other. Well, how many times do you have to spin it before you get Rich Paul Adele, right? But after I read that, and then a couple years later, she comes back looking like a totally different person. I'm like, wow, that's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, gun to my head, reptilians real or not? If I get the answer wrong, I die. I'm gonna say yeah. I'm gonna go with that. You know what I mean?
So listen, I know we can't keep you all day, so I just want to get into something. You know, we've been discussing this a lot. It's just how to deal with your trauma. I've been blessed. I go to Alcoholics Anonymous. I go through these steps. I sit down with people. And, you know, first of all, you start going, what is all your resentments? And you start realizing all your resentments, the common denominator is you. And it's like ego and expectations. You know, I was very young when I was in Vegas going to UNLV. I had a friend of mine tell me something, and she goes, you only help people because you expect something back in exchange. Like if you do something for somebody, you expect them to do something for you. And I would tell you that really shook me at that point because I would tell you it was true.
How old were you?
At 22.
22?
You know, when I talk about abundance, I talk about giving away money. I literally do it with the expectation of nothing back. Like that's how I operate.
That's a deep debate in philosophy, whether there's a such thing as like true altruism, like whether that even exists, or if there's always some utilitarian element to it. Like we always expect to get something back deep down, honestly.
Well,
and the really
even at
cynical
its
people don't believe it. Yeah.
basic stuff, you're doing it
Because it
in
makes
the
you feel
hopes
good.
of feeling good and having good karma come back at you. So I don't know if you'll ever get to that.
That's right. That's what I mean, and that's kind of a darker corner of philosophy. But yeah, there's this idea that there's no altruism.
But you know, again, it's like, what is your ego? What is your, you know? Again, I learned in recovery that nobody's thinking of me, and seems like a very lonely thing. But when you kind of look at it, going, nobody's out there planning my demise. The killer is within the house. I answer the phone. The phone call's coming from the house. The killer's in the house. Like the killer is always in the house. It's always you. It's always you. I mean, I'm not saying bad things don't happen to good people, but usually when a bad thing happens to a good person, it's a drive-by, meaning it's not specific. It's like that's how they're treating everybody, and you just happen to catch shrapnel, and it to not personalize it. Like there are comedians out there that I know, or at least I believe in my head, don't like me or are really mad at me, and I go, what did I do to them? And if I really go through and I go, nothing, it's none of my business. It sounds crazy because, you know, it's the most personal thing in the world, whether somebody likes you or not. But in reality, it's like, I didn't do anything to them. Then what am I and they're mad at me. Then what? I can't control it.
Like the other day, what I say to you or someone like, oh, wow, these people talk shit. I wonder if when I leave, if they're talking shit about me, you're like, why the fuck do you care?
Yeah.
You're like, you already left the room.
It's also comedians. I go, you always got to give comedians a little bit of room of shit talking. You got to know that that's at its core, every single joke is shit talking. Even Jerry Seinfeld, in his own way, is shit talking. What's up with this? That's shit talking. It's just it's without swear words, and it doesn't have the energy that makes you think this guy talks a ton of shit. Observations in a weird way are shit talking.
Yeah.
You know, so So my question to you, Dom, where do you want to start? I know you can't stay forever, but what do you want? Where should we begin, and how can we get into this so that people can leave this with something?
So one of the first things to understand, and this is the foundation of what I teach people when I teach them how to work with people and do things, and this is just a life lesson, is everything that happens into our life, we can take two perspectives. Okay. We can say, hey, this is my creation. In other words, and I hate to use the word fault because it sounds so triggering. When I do it, when I take responsibility, I say it's my fault. This is a creation from me. Now you don't have to take that, but nobody has to take that perspective, because again, the word fault is a little triggering. Or you can place it outside of you, and you can say it's his fault, it's her fault, it's the government's fault, it's my mom's fault, it's whoever.
Society.
Now society, it's because of whatever. Now the challenge with always putting the blame outside is we lose our personal power to change. We are literally giving away our power to that person, that entity, the government, whatever. So I say that because, like you said earlier, things keep happening over and over in our lives. And if we continue to point the finger, we can never actually alchemize it or transmute it. Now, when I say this, that everything is our fault, I literally mean everything. So I had on Monday, I was doing my hypnosis training, and I brought this woman on to do what's called the breakthrough. So essentially we figure out like what's going on subconsciously that's creating a certain pattern in her life. Well, her pattern, I said, I want you guys to give me something crazy that you don't think that you're creating, and let's do a breakthrough on it. So anyways, this woman, she goes, Dom, every time I jump on a call with somebody on my team, one of our hypnotists, to do work with them, something happens to my computer. She's like 3 or 4 times my computer shut down one time the volume wasn't working, one time my mic wasn't working, and something else. So now the normal people would just go, that's nothing. It's just whatever. Well, after doing a deeper dive, what we discovered is that she, and this is actually a pattern that kept showing up for her, but why she was manifesting this experience was because she was afraid to level up. And the reason she was afraid to level up is because she was married and she was in a marriage that seemed a little toxic. And she was thinking like, hey, if I go out and I heal my trauma, I'm going to have to leave my husband. And if I leave my husband, I lose my security. So therefore, if I self-sabotage in this way, I don't have to lose my safety. Now, once we went back, it ended up being a genetic trauma of her mother being pregnant with her and almost drowning. And so her mother, because she had this drowning experience, it was like, hey, don't do anything outside of your comfort zone because you might die. Stay safe. Don't take any chances. And then we cleared out. And now, she no longer has that issue. So car accidents, sicknesses, things that, we just had, I did about a month and a half ago, I did an in-person hypnosis training. We had this woman who had, her body was riddled with tumors. Like she had 14 or 18 tumors, pancreas, all kinds of stuff. Well, when I brought her up to help her heal her trauma, what we discovered is that she was going through some financial stuff with her brothers and sisters, inheritance and all this. And it was her way of essentially getting her to stop dealing with all that and focus on herself. And because she kept ignoring herself, her body created all this illness. Because now, guess what? When you're sick, what do you get to do?
Yeah.
You get to focus on yourself.
Yeah.
Now, I kid you not, 2 weeks later, she came back to us and said the week after she went to the training, she went and got tested, all brand new machines from the doctor. And the week after, she said all of her tumors were gone.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Now, the thing is that a miracle? Yes and no. And the reason I say that is because it's really not a miracle. This is how it's always been. This is how it's supposed to be. We've just been indoctrinated otherwise. So when something like that happens, because it's not common, we think, oh my God, it's a miracle. No, this is how we're supposed to operate. Because the reason why she's getting sick is she's not dealing with her trauma. So car accidents, health issues, technical issues, somebody breaks into your house, like all these different things are an unconscious projection of things that we've got to move through and let go of.
Would you say that men have more generational trauma? The reason I asked that because I was listening to this podcast about saying that kids that have like old memories, like about them being past lives are always men. and mostly because they go through trauma shit. And it says that most that generational trauma comes through men, like men in war, men and all that stuff, and like through female, there's not that much trauma back in the day. I'm not trying to say there wasn't any, but it's mostly all men, and like World War II, and all those kids are like. So I think it has to do with the trauma from back in the day.
I have a crazy. I work with this client who went into a World War II. I was a guy, a World War II memory of releasing hurt. And this dude described everything. Well, his grandpa died, but he went and verified this story with his dad, and every single detail. I'm talking down to what his dad was wearing. So what happened is his grandfather got injured in World War II. He was a Russian. He was in a hospital getting tended to. While he was in the hospital got bombed. Ooh. So it got bombed, and this is in the middle of the winter. So everybody's scattering. Well, he grabbed a Nazi's jacket. And so he's the Russian guy running around running around in a Nazi jacket around a Russian hospital. So the Russians caught him, and they're about to kill him. He's like, no, I'm a Russian. I'm just wearing this jacket. So they put him in a barn, and they were going to execute him the next day. They locked him in. The story checked out. And so, but my client went into that experience. Nobody ever told him the story. Nothing. The only reason the father knew is because the father overheard the grandfather telling the grandfather's brother the war story. So to answer your question, I haven't really paid attention to if it's more for men or women. What I will say is women have usually different trauma, meaning a lot of women's trauma comes around worthiness, and it's around like, oh, you're just the stay-at-home mom. You're not good enough. You're not worthy. Or you're just only worth cleaning and cooking. And a lot of if it's generational, right? So with the men, it can be a lot of like the hurt, the anger is a huge one for men, and fear and things like this. If it is a genetic, but here's the thing: a woman can have genetic trauma from her father or her mother. So they're getting, it's both bloodlines, both lineages that are being passed down. And that goes back, we're talking, multiple generations. We're talking great grandparents as far as it can go back. So yeah, I don't see a huge significant difference, but I can see where like those, the war and things like that can definitely play a part.
When you're talking past lives, not necessarily generational trauma, do people's genders tend to align over their past lives, or because
I'm afraid I'm a Russian with big tits and I was just a town whore and I don't want to find out that I'm just slinging it everywhere.
I've seen it switch. I've seen it switch, like a woman being a man or a man being a woman in a past life. I would say it's definitely more skewed towards the current gender of the person.
Okay.
But yeah, it's I've seen both.
It's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
That's some crazy stuff. I know we can't keep you all night. So, man, Dom, this has been great. If people want to get a hold of you, how do they do it?
Yeah, just find me on Insta, shoot me a message, whatever, if you want to.
Do you have a website or anything?
Yeah, it's so I have a couple different websites. If they just go to domthehypnotist.com, they can go on there and check it out. You can go on YouTube is a good resource if you want to like look at more in-depth videos on like how to heal and how to program your mind for success, all that kind of stuff. So I'd say YouTube is probably your best bet if you want to really learn. Definitely go there. Just go to Dom the Hypnotist on YouTube.
I don't want to keep much longer, but you did mention earlier about addiction. So
you want me to run through that real quick?
Well, so I've been battling porn addiction for probably longer. I've been battling alcohol and drug abuse. Because it was introduced to me at a very young age. Like what I was doing at a young age with everyone on my block at that time was like, I look back at my kids and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that's how I was operating when I was their age. And so it's taken me a long time. I don't have a lot of off it right now in terms of sober time from pornography, but I found this little Jesus guy. And this guy gave it to me at a show, and I've been just keeping it close. And it's like this symbol. It's this symbol to me to not take the instant gratification way out on everything. And it's really helped. But, I get hit up all the time by people who are struggling with addiction. What do you think they should look into?
Yeah. So Random question, and then I'll answer that. Do you find that when you travel and you're going show to show, and maybe it's like you're tired, you're tired, you're scrolling through Instagram, you see a big booty Latina or the dancing Israelis, and then or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
Is that usually when it happens?
Yeah.
You know, okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. You know what really happens is that I'm on the road, I'm in my hotel by myself, and I'm bored.
Yep.
And then I am on Instagram looking, and I'm like, okay, nobody's here. I can just be, get it done with. And I instantly, like, I remember one time I had such a bad set in Phoenix because the night before I'd gone just down the porn rabbit hole for a long
time. It just flies, bro.
Right? And I just felt so disgusted after that it spiritually affected me on stage. And I don't remember ever bombing on stage on the road. I think I've only done it literally in the 30 years, a handful of times, if that. But this was, most people are like, it's fine. It wasn't good. Even my family was like, it's like, you were fine. I was like, when your family can't say that you did well, which is the worst feeling in the world is bombing in front of your family. I'll bomb it with dignity when my family's like, oh, I can't pull. And I'm using all the tricks I learned from the OR at the Comedy Store. None of them are working. And I'm like, okay, today we take the L in front of our family. So that's when it happens.
Yeah. So the reason I share that with you is often when we travel, we become ungrounded. Okay. So we're traveling a lot, we're ungrounded. And this goes into the chakra system, right? So we have our 7 chakras. We have more than 7, but the 7 main ones that everybody knows, right? Your root chakra, which is essentially where your prostate is, your sacral, which is below your belly button, your solar plexus, which is right in the middle of your stomach, your heart chakra, throat, third eye, and then your crown chakra. Now, when you're struggling with certain addictions or certain bad habits in different areas of your life, it translates to the chakra that you're having the addiction with. So the reason I mentioned traveling and all that is when we travel, we become ungrounded. And when we're ungrounded, that's our root chakra that's unbalanced, or it's got some, does that make sense? So,
yes.
So I'll give you the rundown of like, if people are, it'll be quick, just a quick rundown. If you're struggling with this is the area to focus on. And then what you can do is meditate. You can find something on YouTube, a chakra meditation, and start clearing out these areas. And what you'll find is that your urge to do these different things will go away. Like I've used this for other people with food, with alcohol, with nicotine, caffeine, things like this. So we'll start at the bottom. So your root chakra. Okay. If you struggle with like drugs, alcohol, sex, this would include porn. Okay. If you're struggling with debt or overspending, okay, or any type of like getting in accidents or getting sick, that's your root chakra. So essentially what you do, just as a quick one with each chakra, is you imagine, using your mind, you imagine the impurities in that area clearing out. And then there's a way that you size it and all that. We probably don't have time to go through that, but you size it to where it's not too big, it's not too small, and then you draw an energy to push it into that area. So if you're struggling with the root chakra, now you can also do physical things. It doesn't have to be through meditation. So going out in nature, grounding yourself, if it's like a spending thing, going through your expenses and looking at it and just like going through. So any physical activity will also help with those areas. That makes sense?
Yes.
Now, if you struggle with like you're addicted to gluten, wheat, starchy carbs, or beer or grain type of alcohol, that's your sacral chakra. Okay, so your sacral chakra is more like your emotion and creativity. So if we're struggling in that area of creativity and in passion, really, then we'll start to do these things, overeating the gluten and all that. So just by drawing, creating, doing something that brings that passion into your life, it'll start to clear that area up. Or then, like I said, you could do the meditation. By the way, if you're struggling with finances, if you're struggling with stability or security in your career, that's the root chakra, right? So next we have the solar plexus. So solar plexus is all about like your willpower, your ability to go out and make things happen. It's like discipline, hard work, succeeding. So if you struggle with caffeine, carbonated drinks, or like drinks that have like cornstarch or what is that called? That corn syrup, like energy drinks or things like this. That's a solar plexus issue. Also, if you struggle with like work addiction or perfectionism, that's also that area, as well as corn-based alcohol. So like whiskey and things like this, it's your solar plexus. So what will help you with that is being disciplined, working, doing the hard work, and like working out and doing physical work, and it'll start to clear up that area. By the way, you could use affirmations also help with each chakra. So people can look up what affirmations to listen to. You can also listen to certain frequencies that will clear out those areas. Next, we have our heart chakra. Okay. So if you struggle with like, people that are addicted to ecstasy or people that are like addicted to love, meaning like they're so infatuated with somebody, or they can't stop thinking about somebody, maybe somebody they're with or somebody they were previously with. That's a clear sign that you've got some traumas here, as well as drinking wine, lots of wine, fake sugar, so like aspartame and things like this, chocolate, and just general sweets. So, it's funny, when girls are heartbroken, what do?
They eat sweets.
They eat sweets and drink what? Wine.
Yeah.
It's because that area is traumatized, and the way that we try to fix the trauma is by using these addictions. So next we have our throat. So your throat chakra is if you're over communicating, you're talking too much.
Yes.
You're talking very fast,
yes.
or smoking or chewing tobacco, you have issues in your throat. So just clearing out those trauma. What's that?
That bing, bing, bang.
Bang. Yours is like blown out, right?
All my stuff. I love nicotine. I don't smoke. I do the the Zins, and I just can't stop talking.
So the sixth chakra. So again, with your throat, you can do like ohms, hum, or hum, or even singing will help with that. And then if it's too much talking, just reel that in and give yourself those times of silence. I know you're a comedian, so that's your job to talk, right? And then we have 6 and 7. So 6 is your third eye. And this is if people who struggle with like self-hatred, body image issues, if they're super worried about their appearance, like, oh, what are people going to think of me? Things like this. And also any type of like mood altering substances. So anything, right? It's often a third eye issue. And then last, our crown. If you're addicted to any type of uppers or downers, so that includes the alcohol and things like that. And then also like cocaine or Adderall, there's different things. If people are super fanatical about religion, like that becomes their only focus, or even they become sort of addicted to meditation. And it's almost this thing of like avoiding reality, like nothing is real, none of this matters. You've probably heard people say that. It's all, it's all a simulation, nothing matters. That is a clear sign that their crown chakra needs some work. And so, and also depression and anxiety. So and what helps with that is like instead of just meditating all day and doing that, is like going out and producing, right? Getting connected and not disconnecting from reality, but connecting back with people. And for the heart, I forgot to mention, being around people you love, right? It could be as simple as hanging out with your dog, like giving them a hug, spending time with your loved ones. It starts to clear out that trauma. So do these different steps. If you go back, listen to this again and figure out like, oh yeah, I do struggle with, caffeine. Maybe I got some issues in my solar plexus, or I do struggle with the Zins. Okay. Maybe I'm talking too much or whatever. And you could do it through meditation or the steps of what I said of the different things. And again, you can use frequencies for each chakra. So, that's the
And you
rundown.
can find all this on your website and your Instagram.
Yeah. If you go on YouTube, it'd be better. I have some chakra meditations on YouTube. You'll find most of them are good. One of the things I'm like a brown belt in chakras and stuff like that. Maybe a high level purple belt, little brown belt.
What are you in jiu-jitsu now?
I'm still a purple belt. I haven't been training because of my shoulders, but I've been taking BPC 157 and my shoulders have actually been feeling good. So I've been training. Do you know Henry Akins?
No, I think, is he the guy that trained under Eddie Bravo?
No, he was Ronda Rousey's jiu-jitsu coach. He's one of Rickson Gracie, like the greatest jiu-jitsu guy of all time. He's one of his first black belts here in America. So I do privates with him weekly. So I'm not like putting too much strain, but I'm still a purple belt.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my blue belt. I think I'm close.
Hell
I would
yeah.
love my blue belt. I would love it. I mean,
That always, I mean, I don't do it, but it drives me insane how you don't really know when you're close. So how do you know you're close?
I'm close. It's just
You just start fucking up the higher belts. In my opinion, like that's how I kind of engaged it. But you don't really know. Like you could just be stuck.
yeah,
at
we'll
it.
see. I mean, like I get the problem with being a white belt taking on blue belts is that the one they're going easy on you, but when you get them, they don't want to tap because it's like a they get embarrassed around everybody. So it's like I had a guy the other day. I had him at Kimura. And he's like, I'm not tapping. You're gonna have to break my arm. I go, why would you do that, dude? Like,
See, now that dude, that
deserves it. That deserves it.
I would
Break
be
it.
like, I'm not.
no,
doing,
I'm not gonna
leaving.
break anyone's arm.
No,
I'm
but
just,
that would be
I'm
annoying.
just here to
like,
lose my tits.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
really what I'm all about.
That's what I expect to get in jujitsu, like
Not
crazy.
all-
fucks
I
like
mean,
that.
it
And I'm
is like you don't want to be a blue belt who taps to a white belt. They get very. It's like so. It's like this weird kind of.
So
like,
what happened there?
No, I mean, like we just have. I mean, like
No, but what ended up happening
Johnny,
that time?
I'm just gonna tell you, it's wonderful. I mean,
No, but that time, what happened?
Did he tap?
the round ran out.
Okay.
We got it there. He's like, you're going to break my arm. Boo! I'm like, oh,
because
dog.
I'm with Johnny. I know where Johnny's coming from. I'm scared of running into people like that. That ends up like, oh,
But
this
they're
is Johnny
great
from
people.
Tinfoil Hat.
I'm not trying to like. Please don't take it as
He doesn't sound like
we
a
were
great
just having
people.
a discussion. No, I love it. It was great. All right, Dom. Sorry, I don't want to keep you all night.
No, you're
Thank
good.
you so much for coming on. All of his links below, and we'll talk to you soon, dude.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.
Take care. Let's
Thank
break down
you.
the episode. All right, guys. What'd you think?
Do you think I should see him for my trauma?
I think you should, dude. I think you should. I mean, you really should,
You
dude.
got generational trauma in me?
I'm sure you do, dude.
do,
Your
yeah.
family going over the border, that stuff wasn't easy.
Dude, I look at walls now and I
Yeah,
start
you look at
sweating.
walls. He won't swim in a river. He's afraid to do it. Johnny, what'd you think?
Are you guys? Is any part of you like nervous about being hypnotized? Would you be nervous? I would be nervous.
Yeah, I've gone to those mass hypnotisms. I never
Really?
get hypnotized. Well, some guy shows up and he's like, "Ooh," and everyone's like, "I'm asleep," and I'm like, "Nah, I'm not."
Yeah, I've never.
So I was
either.
thinking about that. I wonder if he can get anybody.
Were you
I think
sober?
You really have to want it.
What?
Or were you sober?
Yeah, I wasn't tweaking balls at the hypnotist
I was just
show.
wondering.
No, I just grinding my teeth. I can't sleep.
That's why I was like, that's why you can't sleep.
I can't sleep. I got demons. I got demons, dude. Yeah. I mean, when he told me those stories in person, I was like blown away by how crazy that was. But I think that's just a part of the reality that the normal person doesn't understand or know.
If he told you, hey, I'm gonna come to LA, I can hypnotize you, no more porn from now on, like you won't even want
I'll try it.
We got a couch
you
right
would-
here. We'll put him right there. Put you on the couch. and
Yeah, I'll try it.
But you would be
record
okay with never wanting to watch porn ever again? Like if he told you you're gonna be like you're not gonna
Yeah,
want to watch
I'd be
it.
fine with it.
It's been destructive for him.
I know, I get it.
I
Yeah.
just don't want to watch it anymore. It's
know, I
just
get
low
it.
You put in
vibrational.
enough hours. Yeah.
And it's like, it's just getting into weird ass shit.
Even
like
if you retire today, you'll still be on the leaderboard for all time,
bondage.
bro.
It's like, it's not like, what am I watching here? This isn't even sex. This is just like desecrating women. It's just like not even fun. It's like you're taking like Mother Earth and just lighting her up.
You know what I think it is though? I honestly think it's kind of like when you drink. I think if you took a whole 6 month off, you can go back to normal missionary pizza guy knocking on the door back old.
You
No,
think so?
that's actually
Yeah.
not true. They
It's
talk
not
about
like
that in recovery, dude.
Oh, no?
The minute when you stop, the minute you pick up again, you go instantly back to where you were.
Well, not with heroin though.
Yeah, don't do that with heroin,
Yeah,
guys.
no, that's how people overdose and die all the time.
Or cocaine. Don't think if you could.
Yeah, I
do that.
wouldn't
don't know
do it.
about coke,
I
but
wouldn't
heroin
do it, dude.
especially. Opiates.
Yeah, I mean, I know, we didn't say it here, but we said in a bunch of other episodes about all this stuff has occult magic in it. All these drugs, all this pornography, all this stuff is like dark occult energy. That's a big reason why I don't want it in my life anymore. I want to stay in the love.
makes
Anything
sense.
that makes time pass like that, it can't be good.
It's a magic trick.
Yeah.
If you go to samtripoli.com, we'll get right back to it. Events, Huntington Beach, I'll be there. I'm going to be in Kansas City. Then I'm going to be, okay, it goes Huntington Beach, Ventura, Kansas City, Tulsa, Oklahoma. No, Chicago first. Chicago's up, guys. I have 3 shows in Chicago, I believe. Then it's going to be Tulsa, Oklahoma, Oklahoma City, Austin, Texas, in October. So you got enough time if you want to come hang out. And then Skankfest. I think I'm almost done booking the month or the whole year. Yeah, go back. And then the premium content is fire, dude. I'm just telling you, man. You know, I put up about 7 episodes of free content, but the real deep dives are in the conspiracy is in the premium content. And I'm taking the best of the internet. We're breaking it down. You're getting my take on everything. So I fucking love it.